Alright, Donald Trump just sent out yet another unhinged holiday post about the Epstein files, and I want you all to say it with me. The Epstein files are the largest cover-up since Nixon's Watergate, even larger than Nixon's Watergate in size, scope, scale, and urgency. I mean, we have multiple government departments, from the FBI to the DOJ to Donald Trump's own executive circle, all working in unison to cover up the Epstein files and protect the Epstein class. And really quickly, we have the most intelligent pro-democracy community on all of YouTube, so thank you all. If you want to join the community, make sure you're subscribed below, because we are about to crush it in 2026. Kash Patel likely perjured himself in front of Congress. Pam Bondi lied on Fox News and has been fact-checked over and over and over. It is an absolute mess, and before we even read what Trump just posted, Yashar Ali says, President Trump once again refers to the Epstein files as a, quote, democratic hoax, which in and of itself is disgusting. He's really politicizing it to a unique degree. The other day when I was on CNN, this conservative guy turns to me and he goes, why don't you stop politicizing it? And I said, I'll stop when Trump stops. And he says, be a leader, show Trump the way. And I was like, dude, I'm 23. He's the president of the United States. The reason the Epstein files matter, and it's such a major issue, is because Trump's top allies made it so during the campaign and promised that the files would be released. I mean, the reason that it really matters is because we want the survivors to have, clarity. We want them to have justice. But at the end of the day, Trump is the one. His campaign was the one that promised to release the files. Some of the people who voted for Trump got very angry when he called it a hoax. It's worth noting this would have wrapped long ago had his admin not repeatedly promised things and then walked them back. Exactly. So Trump then says, the day after Christmas, quote, now, 1 million more pages on Epstein are found. DOJ is being forced to spend all of its time on this Democrat-inspired hoax. When do they say no more and work on election fraud? Okay, so Epstein is a hoax in Donald Trump's eyes. Meanwhile, election fraud is something that is very serious and urgent, and apparently there's widespread proof of in Trump's eyes. There's no proof of this whatsoever. He's just lying. The Dems are the ones who worked with Epstein, not the Republicans. Release all of their names, embarrass them, and get back to helping our country. It's interesting because Bill Clinton is the only one out of you two that has said he's okay with releasing all of the files. So Trump sends this incredibly deranged post as we're learning that the Justice Department is scrambling to find holiday volunteers to continue redacting these very files. This exclusive from CNN says the DOJ is scrambling. The Justice Department's leadership has asked career prosecutors in Florida to volunteer over the next several days to help redact the Epstein files, in the Trump admin's latest push towards releasing hundreds of thousands of photos, even though they have already broken the two criteria that they were supposed to follow. The two criteria were this: release all of the files on the 30-day deadline, and all of the files need to have reasonable redactions. Well, they didn't release all of the files. They released like 30% of them, if that, and the redactions were not reasonable. We had hundreds of pages fully blacked out. Meanwhile, some victims' names were still left there. It is insane. Brian Krasenstein points out to Trump's post yesterday, hey dude, your name is all over the Epstein files, plus you're covering up details as we speak. Trump made this insane post saying, Merry Christmas, including to the many sleazebags who loved Jeffrey Epstein, gave him bundles of money, went to his island, attended his parties, thought he was the greatest. But there's so much archival footage of Trump partying with Jeffrey Epstein, even saying Jeffrey Epstein was the greatest, that he liked them young. Look at these many photos of Trump partying with Epstein and a bunch of girls. It's also really weird that in Trump's Christmas post yesterday, he ended it off with, enjoy what may be your last Merry Christmas, President DJT. I'm not even making this up. Look at the last line here says, enjoy what may be your last Merry Christmas, President DJT. Why is our president sending us threatening Christmas holiday messages? What the hell? There's also a report from the early 2000s. Now, people haven't confirmed that this is connected to Trump, but I thought this was interesting. So on January 10th of 2000, a 19-year-old girl named Dusty was found dead by a gunshot wound to the head in Oklahoma. That's the same day a 2020 FBI complaint alleged that a Trump rape victim was found with her head blown off in Kiefer after reporting him to the police. The victim told this driver that she couldn't report Trump because, quote, they will kill me. In 2021, another victim said that Epstein told her girls who don't behave are fed to alligators. which could be alluding to Jeffrey Epstein's island. To continue, Trump yesterday on Christmas says this.
Good. I'm fine. You sound so beautiful and cute. How old are you?
I'm 8.
Wow, so smart. You sound so smart.
I don't know if it's the best time to be calling 8-year-olds beautiful and cute, buddy. War Monitor points out someone named in the Epstein files should not have any control over which names get released in the Epstein files. I said at the beginning of this that this is the largest cover-up since Watergate, even larger than the Watergate cover-up from Nixon, and I want to double down on that. And to make it even worse, Nixon at least had a semi-productive presidency before he had his entire reputation ruined. What does Trump have to show for it? He has nothing to show for it. Nearly 2 years ago, Donald Trump kicked off the presidential campaign season with a declaration. Quote, "I was never on Epstein's plane or at his stupid island," he posted on Truth Social in January 2024. Reports to the contrary, he insisted, were the fault of AI. Quote, "This is what the Democrats do to their Republican opponent, who is leading them by a lot in the polls." But this week, the documents released by Trump's own Justice Department, including flight logs and emails, told a different story. Federal prosecutors determined in January 2020 that Trump had been a passenger on the notorious private jet owned by Jeffrey Epstein. Far more often than they had realized. Many of the flights on what came to be known as the Lolita Express took place, quote, "during the period we would expect to charge in a Maxwell case," a federal prosecutor told New York colleagues. Epstein's co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell was subsequently convicted and is now serving a 20-year prison sentence for her role in the sex trafficking operation, including using the plane for, quote, "transporting a minor to participate in illegal sex acts." There are many other mentions of Trump. The president's name appears more than 100 times in the files released yesterday as a part of the DOJ's compliance, or half compliance, with legislation requiring it to disclose everything. I just want to say, the timeline of all of this is batshit crazy and would be enough to sink any other presidency. I talked about this yesterday, but if this were happening in 2005, 20 years ago, Christmas Eve would be spent with every single news channel, wall-to-wall coverage of people sifting through each separate file. If this happened back in the 70s or 80s, we would have like Walter Cronkite, the biggest news anchors, all 24/7 live. They'd be eating their dinner on air because they'd be sifting through every file. They would never let this administration go, especially after all of the blunders, all of the repeated mistakes out in the open. Yet now it is on us. Now the onus is on people like you and I to bring accountability and transparency to this administration, and we work on that every single day. I love you all. I'll see you in the next video, and peace out.